In this session, we will learn about events and event handlers in Windows applications. Events occur when user interacts with the application. Windows-based applications are message-based, meaning that the application is communicating with Windows and Windows is communicating with the application using predefined messages. Event handlers are used as means of responding to the events when the message is received by the application. In the IDE, we can find a list of events available in the Properties window to hook the controls with the events via event handlers. An event handler is a procedure in our code that determines what actions are performed when an event occurs. They respond to events such as mouse clicks, pressing of keys on keyboard, and system events. Here in the example, we define a method A in the class called myClass. This method should respond to an external event. So we define an event handler and pass the reference of method A to it. When the event is fired, the event handler responds to this event and calls method A. In this way, the event is processed by the method A function. Creating an event handler is a two-step process. First, we need to define the function which will process the event. This function has two specific arguments, sender and event args. These arguments are passed by the event handler to this function, and the type of arguments depend on the control or object which has raised the event. If the event is raised by the form class, then the argument sender will be form object and event args E will be form event object. Likewise, these arguments will vary as per the controls which raise the events. Now after defining the function, we need to pass the reference of this function to the object's event method. So when the object raises the event, then this event handler function is called with appropriate arguments. To understand this process, here in the code example we can see that there are two event handling functions defined in the form class. The form's load and closed events have been passed with the reference of their event handling function. These events are fired when the form loads and closes, and in response to these events, the two event handling functions are executed. Now let's understand the sequence of events that occur when Windows Forms application starts and ends. During startup, we can use event handlers to capture these events in the form to execute any initialization of objects or resources. Similarly, we can use events during shutdown process to clean up resources like closing or any other specific operations. During shutdown process, three kinds of events are used: before closing event, closed event, and after closing event. Every control in the class library has their own events, which are used in application development to interact with the user. Buttons have click events and text boxes have their text change event. We can easily add event handlers for any controls in Windows Forms Designer, so let's explore how it can be done. Here we return back to our form example. In the Properties window, we switch to Events to display the events of the form or any other control. The events are listed as per category, and we can select any event and add event handler for that event to the script. Now for this form, suppose we want to add form load event, then we select the load event and double click on it. This will add a form load event handler to the form class. There we can add specific code to handle the event. Similarly, we can add any events like form closed event, form closing event, or any other event which we want to handle in the form class.